Okay, hello YouTube. Today I'm going to discuss something that I don't think people discuss enough. I'm going to talk about how to create a training file and how to train in chess and how to drill yourself to learn new openings in chess. So if you like content like this and you want to see more of it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click on your notification icon. So I'm going to be doing all of this in ChessBase, and I have an old version of ChessBase, and I actually have an old opening book that I'm using for this. And the opening that we're going to be prepping is we're going to be prepping the Latvian Gambit. So I do have an old opening book, which I don't care about too much, because for the most part, the only thing I use the opening book for is number of times the games were played and the percentages. So I'm not too picky about how up to date my opening book is, but I should probably update it at some point. But my reference database is completely up to date. It has all the current games. I update my reference database on a pretty regular basis. So all the current games should be in there for the reference database. But we are dealing with a Latvian Gambit, so it's not going to be that critical. This has been an opening that's had a bad reputation for a long time. So as you can see here, knight takes e5 has a really high winning percentage, really high average performance rating, really high average rating. So we're going to go down that path, and then queen f6 is one of the only real moves, although knight c6 is an alternative that maybe we have to be prepared for. So we're going to add that to variations, and then we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at queen f6, and then as you can see, I'm starting to build this file within the notation, and we're going to take a look at this knight c6 move as well. I will show you how to handle that in a minute. We'll be coming back to that. So we're going to have d4, d6, we're going to have knight c4, looks forced, f takes e4, they do this to just get their pawn back. We're going to play knight c3. We're threatening the pawn, threatening d5. It looks like everybody's pretty much playing queen g6. And then I know from experience the move f3 is good, but it also has the highest winning percentage and the highest performance rating. So that's another way that you can kind of tell that maybe this move is the way to go. We're going to have f3, e takes f3, queen takes f3, and then we're going to start kind of looking for a game from here. This is normally where I would kind of stop a lot of my preparation in a lot of cases, just because at this point it's starting to feel like White's development and White's movement from here on out is going to be pretty natural. So we have knight c6, and we're going to start kind of looking for a reference game right here. So I'm going to click on my reference database, and then I'm going to click on ELO for White. And then right at the top we have this really nice game. It looks like between Wróblewski and Maljutin, and the reason it's a really nice game is because you have a really high average rating, and you have kind of the sort of result we're looking for if you're preparing this for the white pieces. You want to look at games where maybe white's won, or at least white's drawn. You can also look at games where white's lost if you want to see, what not to do. That's actually another good thing to keep track of sometimes, is what not to do. And you also kind of, for a lot of lines, you want to try to get a historical perspective sometimes. So sometimes you want to add older games that might be famous games, like an old Fischer game that might also be included in my 60 memorable games, or something that's included from 1953 Zurich or something like that. But in this case, we would just copy this to the notation, and we're going to have this game in there. We would go back, we would take a look at knight c6, and then we might look in the reference database for a top player that had to play against knight c6. That is too big of a rating difference. This is a good one. This is actually looks like a computer competition of some type. So we've got two computers playing against each other, so we know that the moves are going to be relatively quality because they're engines. So we're going to go ahead and copy that to the notation, and we're going to have that game as well. And we're going to start taking a look at the accuracy of all these moves. So at this point during the process, I would go through and I would start computer checking these games, and I would start adding notes. So the way I do that is I'm going to add a kibitzer. So I'm going to add Stockfish 14.1. My kibitzer just pops up right down here. And we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. We can go ahead and check all this from move 1 if we want to. But we're basically just going to start computer checking this kind of for errors. So immediately the computer says that the Latvian Gambit is an error. So I kind of agree. It's giving +2 already for white. It says this is +2 for white. So, and it likes knight takes e5. So we're clearly on the right path. So let's take a look at this computer game, knight c6. The computer, of course, likes the move that the other computer played, although it's okay with queen h5 as well. But it looks like d4 is solid, so this game could easily just be part of our prep without a whole lot of differences. Knight f6, bishop c4 is solid. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight takes e4, castles. And one of the things that I'm going to be looking for within this computer prep line is just kind of a stopping point. Like, where can I stop my prep? And I'm starting to get some freeze issues here because I'm running a lot of stuff at the same time because I'm recording while I'm running this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the engine and I'm going to lower the number of CPUs here down to, we'll say, 2 CPUs so we don't have any freezing while I'm doing the video. So we'll run that down to 2 CPUs. That should help with our freezing. So now we're going to have knight d2. We're going to have d5. ed6 was solid. Bishop d6. Queen e2 or knight e4 or rook e1 all look good. So we have a queen e2 in this game. Rook e1 looks good. Stockfish prefers rook e1. I think knight e4 is super simple because it wants to play knight e4, fe4, queen h5, g6, queen h6, which is a move that's readily understandable for me to understand. And it's something that's going to be easy for me to play in a game. Like rook e1, bishop h2, king f1 looks very complex still, even though it has a huge advantage for white. Plus 4 is more than enough to win. So let's go ahead and play knight takes e4 as like a side note here. So we're going to play knight takes e4, and we're going to have that as a new variation or even a new main line. And once we've got that in there, like knight e4, we're going to have f takes e4. We're going to have queen h5, we're going to have g6, and then we're going to have queen h6. And then we're going to give a note here, and that's going to be a decisive advantage white. And at this point, I think I could probably play this position with the white pieces without a huge amount of difficulties. So that's another trick to analyzing. I call it the I'll take it from here effect, is you analyze the position to a position where you feel comfortable playing from. So basically, I feel like white's position is advantage and it's simple enough, and this is 12 moves of preparation, which means that this is something that I can easily remember. I have the other game citation here, but I'm probably not going to bother to memorize all 46 moves of this computer game. Instead, I'm going to memorize these 12 moves, which are actually a slight improvement on what this computer did. And I'm just going to memorize these 12 moves, and that's going to be my prep, and then from here I'm going to play chess. So then we're going to go back, and we're going to start computer checking this other line. So we've got d4, this is the main line with queen f6, d6, knight c4, fe4, knight c3, queen g6, f3, takes, queen f3, and then we're going to have knight c6. So if there's moves that you're curious about, like when you're going through this preparation, like, hey, why can't he play queen takes c2? This is like a really good question. Because people might do this in your games. They might go ahead and take this pawn, they might play queen c2, so we're going to have a new variation, queen takes c2. And you can see that the computer immediately gives this move bishop d3, which appears to just win the queen on the spot. It's giving plus 10 for white. So we're going to have bishop d3, queen d3, queen d3, and that's going to be decisive advantage white. And we're actually just going to throw a note in there. We can say text after move. And the text that we're going to add after the move is just going to be something really simple, like wins a queen. So we're going to say wins a queen. So good enough. And again, if you're up a whole queen, you can probably take it from here. So this is probably good enough. Now, the rest of this Rublevsky game is something that I might memorize the whole thing of because it looks like this game's relatively short. And it looks like it doesn't have that many errors. So we're going to have knight c6, bishop d3, queen g4, queen e3 check, bishop e7. All these moves look correct. Castles looks fine. Knight f6, d5, knight b4, rook f4 hitting the queen looks solid. Queen d7 was bishop f5 played, and it was the best move, so we have bishop f5. And then black had to sacrifice his queen because he's apparently losing. That's good to know. So bishop f5, rook f5, bishop f5, and then we had knight b5. Okay, so here knight b5 is the second pick, but now it's dropping. Is knight b5 still up there, or is knight b5 a mistake? Do we need to make an improvement here instead of knight d5? So we might not memorize the whole Rublevsky game because it looks like queen f4 is the way to go. So we're going to insert queen f4 instead of knight d5. So this is going to be new main line. We're going to keep the game citation in there, but we're not going to be memorizing it. We're going to make knight b5 our main line, and then it looks like they're just retreating, like bishop d7, and then we have knight e3, which defends the c2 square, and white's up a queen and has a huge advantage, so I feel like I can take it from there. So we're going to have queen f4 as our new main line, so bishop d7, knight e3, and I'm going to take it from here. And that's 17 moves of theory to memorize, and we're going to add our symbol. So once we've done all that, we have our file. So what do we do next now that we have our file? So I'm going to unload my engine. So the next step of this operation is once we have our file and once we have everything that we're going to memorize, and like I said, I picked the Latvian because the Latvian is going to be a relatively thin file. As you play the opening more and more, you might just run across moves that people hadn't played against you in the past. You find out you're not prepared and you maybe fall for a trick that you hadn't seen before. So you can always add to these files. But the main thing is now that you have this file, you want to memorize it to your memorizing points. Now notice all of these symbols that I put in here where I assessed the position. Those are my endpoints for memorization. This is just a cute little trick that I use. As soon as I have one of these symbols, that means that is my preparation. That is where I memorize it to. I try to make it sort of a digestible size. I try to make it, something for me. It's like some lines I'll prep all the way out to move 22, 25. A lot of times I'll try to keep it, nice and short. Like I might only prep to move 6 or 7 or even move 10 depending on the theory or depending on the line. The Latvian I don't really prep very far. For the most part, the Latvian, I'm happy just prepping the Latvian sometimes, to move, really like once I play queen takes f3, like in my head, like I'm almost done already. After knight c6, I feel like I can almost take it from here, without prepping it any further. So really prepping this to move 17, for me anyway, feels a little pointless. Like I might even just, I could even just write in a symbol like right here, like queen takes f3, and I could just put something like major advantage white, and we could just prep it to move 8, and just forget about all this stuff down here if you want to shorten your prep. So every time I put in a symbol, I'll just memorize it to that point. So what you do is you just start kind of clicking back and forth and start memorizing your stuff. You go through your theory, you go through your main lines, and you memorize all your side lines, etc., to your prep points. So in this case, we would go to knight e3 would be our prep point, and we would just go over this over and over and over again, just clicking through the moves, clicking through the moves. Now for me, that's not quite enough to memorize it. Once I've gone through, just clicking through a whole bunch of times, I'll step away from my computer and I'll go to a physical chessboard. And then I'll try to see how much of this I can remember from like move 1 to move 17, or even just from move 1 to move 8, depending on where I put my stopping points. And I'll try to hit every single one of these stopping point symbols without ever having to consult the computer. Now, I'll push myself until I struggle, and then when I have to go consult the computer, I will. But I won't stop my memorization process until I can do it 3 times in a row on a live chessboard without ever having to consult these computers, and I can hit all of my symbol points. So I'm hitting here, I'm hitting here, I'm hitting here, I'm hitting here, and I'm getting to these endpoints on my prep without any difficulties. And then at that point, I'm transferring it from what they call type 1 memory to type 2 memory, and at that point I have it forever. That's the goal. You want to repeat this stuff enough so that you transfer it from your type 1 to your type 2 memory. So it could be an all-day thing where you just spend all day going over this again and again and again. An easy comparison is like piano. If you've ever learned piano, the main thing with piano is you have to keep practicing. I personally don't know how to play piano. I don't know anything about it, but I know that you have to practice. So like you can learn a song and you can learn all the notes, but if you don't practice, you're never going to have it down. So you have to practice until you can do it without thinking. It is the same thing with chess. And you can use this approach not just for openings, you can also use this approach for prepping endgames. You can set up an endgame position, you can analyze it with the engine, you can go through the moves, and you can use this exact same approach. You can scroll through the moves and memorize them on the screen, take it to a live board, start memorizing it on the live board, take it back to the screen to fill the gaps, go back to the live board until you can hit all of your endpoints that you've marked, until you can hit all of your marked endpoints successfully 3 times in a row, and then you have it, and then it's in your long-term memory, and then you can do it forever, and then you can move on to memorizing the next best thing. So this is how you prepare. This is how you prepare in chess, and this is how you train in chess, and not enough people know how to do this. It's not that hard. It's just really time-consuming, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of work, and that's one of the reasons that chess is so rewarding, and it's also one of the reasons that chess is kind of hard to get good at, because it does take a lot of work to get good at chess. You don't just get good at chess by looking at a chess book and then, absorbing it through osmosis. So anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned something new about chess, and I hope you can use this idea to help you improve your own chess game and train yourself to get better at the game of chess. Thank you very much for watching.